pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, on March 29, 2023, Governor Maura Healey signed into law an act making appropriations for fiscal 2023, provide for supplemental certain existing appropriations for certain other activities and projects. This act includes an extension until March 31, 2025 of the remote meeting provisions. This July 10th, 2024 Select Board meeting will be conducted via remote participation by the board. I'll grant permission to Westwood Media to record this. I think I saw Alex there, and anyone else who wishes to record the meeting. Anything else before I move on, folks? So for the chair's update, the real estate and property tax bills have a new look. Residents will notice a change in the look of the real estate and personal property tax bills beginning July 1, 2024. All pertinent information in the bill is the same as we have just updated the bill format. Steph, I think it looks, it's organized better. Good job on that. I like it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a question related to that for Stephanie. I was talking with Paul Tesseri, our former tax collector, and he had asked a question relative to the personal property taxes for autos and things like that. He said it still had his name on it. I said, Paul, I think that has to do with the start of the fiscal year. So I assume that the next personal property tax bill will not have his name on it.
That's correct. Thank you for that, Rob. I appreciate the note. And we also did, for the first time this year, send out to print. We're in the process of outsourcing the printing of the bills, which is also why they look a little bit different. So there's a few hiccups, but that will transition with the new fiscal year. But thank you.
I figured that's what it was. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Steph. I like them. The second thing on my chair agenda is the 2024 street paving. It's going to be Gay Street from Thatcher Street to Washington Street, Brookfield Road, Marshall Street, Pine Lane, Beacon Street, Schaefer Ave, milling. The roadway will require approximately 4 days. Milling will occur on Friday, July 12th. Chris, you sent out a great robocall to folks and some email stuff as well. So there's additional information on the DPW webpage if you're interested in seeing the exact dates. But basically, it looks like it goes through from July 12th to the end of July, which finishes up the striping and those sorts of things. Detours will be set up according, and message boards will be set up already in place in advance to provide more information. For paving and print information will be posted on the DPW webpage on the town's website. Marianne, Rob, any comments on that?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Mr. Chair, just one caveat, just all weather permitting.
Oh, kudos. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep. Thanks, Chris. Islington Center redevelopment traffic signal timing study update. On March 11th, 2024, the Select Board voted to require developer Truziolo Properties, LLC, to implement and fund revised signalization of the Washington Street, East Street, School Street intersection. As of June 21st, Bayside Engineering is conducting survey work and developing the signal design traffic plans. Bayside Engineering has estimated 6 to 8 weeks to get the design package to the town for review. The estimated timing is conditional upon receipt of the final boring report, which is needed for the design of the new mast arm foundation. And I'm not going to read the letter from Ken unless you guys think I should, but basically it's some very preliminary work that has to be done. Todd explained to me that these traffic signal people are very meticulous about this, and Ken is just following through with all the correct steps. So it's going to be at least another 6 to 8 weeks, then they come before us, as I understand it. Is that correct, Chris? I think
Sorry, I was on mute. I think we also asked Giorgio to come before the board at your next meeting. So right now, I believe he's tentatively scheduled to attend your August 19th meeting.
Okay, thanks,
just to provide an update to the board.
Terrific. And before I move to town administrator's update, Marianne, Rob, did I miss anything that you guys noticed?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're on, Chris.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just two quick updates. One is With the hard work of our town clerk, Dottie Powers, we have been reimbursed with some early voting costs for the annual town election that was held on April 30th. That she submitted to the state auditor. We received a little over $6,100. So I want to certainly thank Dottie for submitting that grant for that reimbursement. That certainly will help out the town. Also, we had a resident contact Dottie to inform us of her daughter who was crowned Miss Massachusetts. So Kirsten Corey, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, on June 22nd was crowned Miss Massachusetts. So we're proud to have Miss Massachusetts, who has went to Westwood High School, is still a resident of Westwood. So a Westwood resident is now Miss Massachusetts. So we will be trying to get in contact with her a little bit later and maybe even have her attend a meeting of the select board. We've also talked about other things that we can try to do to see if her schedule would allow her to fit in some things here in Westwood. So very happy for her and wish her all the best.
Thanks, Chris. Corey family, wonderful, wonderful folks. Stephanie, I think you're up next for the FY24 year-end close.
Yep, that's me. All right. So we are actively working on closing out fiscal year FY24. We're in 25 and we're closing out 24. So that's been the focus of the finance team over the last few weeks. And I just want to thank our town accountant, Maria O'Leary, and the entire accounting office for their work, as well as the many municipal department heads and school department finance staff for working on closing out the year with us. The departments work really hard to live within their annual appropriations each year, and they do a great job with it. The big lift, we want to make sure we're following best practices for the year-end procedures, and it's important to make sure we don't close out with any appropriation deficits. So our finance, accounting, treasury, budget departments are all monitoring the budget throughout the year, both revenue and expenditures, which includes producing monthly budget to actual reports and salary spending projections. And as the board knows, if any issues arise, we come to the select board when necessary to make any adjustments to the individual accounts. That includes either through the select board reserve fund or Article 1 and 2 transfers, which are done at town meeting. So I'm very happy to report that as part of this year's closeout, we do not need to request any year-end transfers from the select board reserve fund. And just a preview, I will be back sometime late August, early September at one of your meetings with a final year-end closeout review. So that'll go through all the finances once everything is officially done. And we've done the reports on those. So that'll include final numbers for both revenue and expenditures. So thank you all. And I'm hoping that's some good news for tonight. And that's all I have on that. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take that too.
That's terrific news. Rob, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, Steph, I know oftentimes you're the one who is presenting all this information, but you highlighted all of the folks who were involved. And I want to extend our thanks as well to them for managing their budgets as well as they do within the appropriations that they're allotted each year at town meeting. So extending that to congratulations both to you and to the entire staff involved.
Thank you, Rob. I know they'll all appreciate that.
And I want to echo all of that as well. Stephanie, great job. Strong work. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just want to just chime in and just say that often in local government, the rule of thumb is don't go near finance in June going into July because they're rolling out of one year and preparing for another. Stephanie and her team are still approachable. Although they do keep me at arm's length, but it's good to know that the work that they do, and it's good for them to be acknowledged by the board. This is a lot of work being done in a very short time frame. There's a lot of pressure on the finance team to do it, and they do a fabulous job. So Stephanie, thanks to you and your team for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
And Stephanie, I echo what Rob and Mary Ann and Chris just said. Congratulations, strong work on that. I'm thrilled to hear that.
Yeah. And I can't wait to come to your next meeting and bore you with all the details. So stay tuned.
I'm ready. I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Let me see. We're going to Rob, Mary Ann, you guys all set?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to Westwood Media Center, the Public Educational and Governmental Agreement, Second Amendment. For the Select Board, we're going to review this is the Second Amendment to the Westwood Media Center PEG Agreement to be provided an update on subscriber numbers. We have Patrick Ahern, Town Council, Melinda Garfield, I see Patrick. See Melinda, thank you. And Mike, see you over there in the corner. Great, okay. The current, for background, the current Westwood Media PEG agreement is due to expire July 22nd. We are being asked, the select board is being asked to vote to extend the Westwood Media Center PEG agreement until February 1st, 2025, with all other provisions remaining the same. This will allow the town and Westwood Media Center to renegotiate a new PEG agreement. Melinda, Michael, Patrick, and Pat. And you've got some subscriber numbers and information from Comcast and Verizon. And Melinda, my understanding is you're going to give us a little presentation. I looked at it last night. It looks terrific. Well done.
Thank you.
So why don't you lead off?
I will share my screen. And play. Cool. Well, thank you, Select Board, so much for having us tonight. If you don't know who I am, my name is Melinda Garfield. I've been the Executive Director of Westwood Media Center for the last 8.5 years. With me tonight is Patrick French. He is the Select Board Liaison and newly appointed board member, as well as Board Chair Michael Gay. For those of you who don't know, our mission is pretty simple. You know, we record live events, we stream live events throughout the town, whether it's meetings, a myriad of different, celebrations and lectures. And really it's all to increase the transparency and quality of civic decision-making, deepen the understanding of the local issues of importance, and promote civility and public dialogue. And this is all while respecting the rights to free speech and creative expression. We are a staff of 4. We're a nonprofit. It starts with me. I'm the executive director. Then we get to Charlotte Lynch. She is the director of original content and facilities. Evan Cardamino is the production manager, and Marie Fiscaldo is the digital marketing specialist. For our board, as I mentioned, Michael Gay is the chair. Patrick French is the select board appointed and also secretary. Christopher Giovino is our treasurer. Dottie Powers is a member at large, as well as John Cummings, and we do have an open seat. For those who don't know, in January of 2017, WMC rebranded and opened our doors to a new state-of-the-art studio. As I mentioned, we are a 501c3, not a department of the town, and our money is not tax dollars. It's actually collected from cable operators who do business in our town by running their wires along our roads. And it's called PEG fees, but PEG stands for Public Education and Government. A quick history lesson. The Cable Act of 1984 and the Telecom Act of 96 stipulates that cable operators must contribute up to 5% of their gross annual revenues, or GARs, to community media centers, or PEG access as it used to be referred to. And accordingly, WMC receives 5% of GARs from each cable operator. And this is as of Q1 of 2021. Prior to that, we were not receiving the full 5%. That's just something that I wanted to note to you. WMC, if you haven't been to our studio, WMC provides the community with approximately 3,000 square feet of creative space. That includes edit stations, a fully equipped studio and control room and conference room. Our community has taken advantage of production services, professional training internships, volunteer opportunities, after-school courses, and revolving artist galleries. And just of note, we also receive capital funding from each cable operator, and WMC has outfitted 4 municipal buildings with AV equipment and giving us the ability to broadcast live on our TV channels as well as YouTube.
Hey, Melinda.
Yeah.
If I may just go back to that last slide.
Yep.
Just something I want to point out to folks is that while you receive those funds through, the cable subscribers, it's actually the town that contracts with the cable providers. And that's what when you see us do the pass-through monies to WMC, that's how and why that happens. And, I think we all can recognize the vital resource that Westwood Media is in the way we conduct our business and the way people rely on it for, everything. So it's been great that we've been able to support you in holding the cable companies and getting them to that 5%, so that we've been able to max out what your revenue is.
Yes, we appreciate that. Just a quick 18-month snapshot here. I wanted to show you that we've done 127 Westwood government meetings, 75 town events and celebrations, 164 school and sporting events, and 125 original programs. So we did the math on that, and then it comes out to about 30 events per month. If you do divide that by 18 months, and obviously we don't always work on the weekends, but that would mean that we're doing one event every day. However, we have multiple events per day. As you may or may not be aware, the cable providers do not give us Nielsen ratings. So there's no way to tell who's watching the actual cable channel, but absolutely there's a way to tell how many people are watching our YouTube and streaming our events. So this is a snapshot of our viewership today. YouTube, we have 1,697 subscribers with about 8,700 views just in May. On Facebook, we have 911 followers. X 642 followers, and Instagram, we've bumped it up appreciably. We have 1,084 followers, and our highest watched video in the last month has been the Memorial Day Parade and the ceremony with 834 views. I bring you to this slide, which is kind of like a 5-year on top of each other here. I wanted to show you in 2019 where we were at with our viewership. This is on YouTube, and this is the number that we have as of today. So we've basically quadrupled our viewership, as you can see, and that was mainly through the use of social media to drive traffic to our content. We use, these tricks with Meta and, YouTube's SEO to increase our engagement. And we also produce innovative content that really drives our viewers. And now I'm going to kick it over to Mike. I'm sorry, kick it over to Patrick.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Patrick French here. So, it's hopefully been made evident in the opening slides here, that Westwood Media Center provides an amazing service to the town in terms of coverage and amplification of town activities, ranging from government to the high school activities as well. And Melinda and team have done a great job of expanding the overall reach through, newer digital channels. And so there is better coverage there. What we are facing, though, is the reality of, one of the primary sources of revenue for what WMC is through these cable revenues that we've been talking about. And the reality, obviously, as many of us already probably know, is people are cutting the cord. And so we have a steady decline in those revenues. The other,
Hey, Patrick, when
yes.
you say folks are cutting the cord, for folks in the public who may not know what that is, can you elaborate on what that is and why the alternative doesn't provide a revenue source?
No, that's a great question. So cutting the cord references the fact that there are streaming services now where you can actually watch CBS, right? ABC, all the major networks, as well as other networks, through streaming services by paying for individual services through those various companies. And a lot of those digital services offer aggregation as well, so you can get multiple different channels as part of a package. So that's what I'm referring to through, people are moving away from the traditional cable company service that offers you a set number of channels and upgrades as you would deem fit. And I guess, how that would impact us is the fact that there is not an agreement in place, and maybe Melinda and Mike, I'll let you chime in on this as well, an agreement in place with any of these streaming services that would enable WMC or cable operators like ourselves to receive a portion of those revenues.
That's correct, Patrick. So basically, the streaming services are taking a free ride on our public rights of way. There is no legislation, either federal or state level at this moment, that dictates that they have to pay any sort of fee to be on our public rights of way. Now, there's certainly different legislation throughout the country, and currently right now there is the Senate Economic Development Bill actually has an amendment to have streaming services pay their fair share, but that has never really worked, and this has been going on for us for 5 years. So in a nutshell, the streaming services don't pay what cable services do.
Yeah, and I'll add one more comment that while we're talking about declines in subscribers, and we'll show you that slide in a second, there's also been a strong indication from the cable companies, Verizon, Comcast, and others, that they want to get out of that business. They want to support the streaming services, and they want to become streaming organizations in general. So we have a declining subscription base, even here in Westwood. And then there's also the existential threat of these companies overnight saying we're no longer cable providers, and the Cable Act of 1984 will no longer apply. So it is a very real threat to the revenue stream of Westwood Media Center.
Yeah, it would be a 5% bump to their revenue while, eliminating any of the funding that provides the vital services that you all provide to the community.
While using the very same telephone poles and wires that they're using today for cable delivery.
Thank you. That's helpful background for folks.
And the other element that we are facing is some uncertainty around the current space that we are in today and finding a good, sustainable, long-term space for the future. So we have a couple of slides upcoming here where we'll get into both of these topics. So the first one here, just showing the steady downward trend in cable subscribership that we are seeing, and we expect to continue seeing over time. And then as far as the space is concerned, a couple of
throw
those
that back. Can you just for
sure.
my own? So if I'm looking at this from its peak, you're down somewhere in about 25% of subscribers. Is that right, Mike? Am I doing quick math right?
That's correct. Yeah, and we've seen a solid decline. And again, I think Westwood is probably one of the towns that has been a little bit insulated from the dip in subscribers. But even Westwood is feeling a very real dip. Every month, the numbers are going down.
Yeah. And the other piece related to the space. So recently, there's been new ownership that has taken over the building that the facility resides in, and there is uncertainty around whether they wish to continue having WMC as a tenant there. Paired with that, there has been a lack of ongoing and necessary maintenance to the building. So there have, and Melinda knows well, she's been facing some issues within the facility that have compromised their ability to keep things in top shape. And then the location itself is a bit of a no man's land. Not really central, kind of located in the central part of Westwood, not in and around the activities that occur in the town. So with all that in mind, I'll pass over to Mike to talk a bit about what we're, beyond raising awareness, ideas that we are putting forth.
Yeah, thanks so much, Patrick and Melinda. And I get the fun part. I get to ask for things, which I'm certainly willing to do. The town and Westwood Media Center have had a phenomenal partnership. So this is more of awareness as opposed to any real hard asks. But the first thing is the reason we're all here today, which is the matter before the select board, a 6-month extension to the current PEG agreement, which we are in, very agreeable with Pat and the town. Giving us 6 months will allow us to really dive in and make sure that we're covering all of the things that both the town and Westwood Media Center need for future viability. That's number one. Number two is really the awareness. That partnership with the select board and the town is critical to the viability of Westwood Media Center as a business, a 501c3, delivering very needed services to the town. We've talked about, although this is certainly not before the select board, about the possibility of becoming a town department should the revenue stream evaporate, as we've touched on. We've also kicked around ideas around sponsorship and fundraising. Some different town members have approached Westwood Media Center with some really good ideas. So there's no real ask here other than just awareness of the partnership and some things that we may not control in the future and how they might impact us. This last bullet is really a continuation of looking at new space. So we've had conversations already about moving Westwood Media Center, the studio and the offices, to some more central locations, including the library, American Legion, the second floor, and Deerfield. Now, I will caveat Deerfield with the acknowledgement that it's currently under the control of the school, but we don't know what the future holds. So I listed that out as a possibility. And again, the library and American Legion are two spots that we've looked at and will continue to have discussions with the town on. So again, no real ask there other than just a continuation of that engagement.
Hey, Mike, before you leave that, just related to, thank you for bringing this to us from an awareness standpoint. I guess there are two things that would be helpful to understand in terms of time pressures. One, when you talk about your current space, what type of arrangement do you have? Are you at this point month to month? What type of lead time would you be given if you needed to vacate the premises? Because, obviously that makes things particularly challenging for, where do you go? And then the second thing is, if you could go back, I don't know if it's 2 slides, Melinda, where you had your subscriber. Yeah. So if I'm looking at just the slope of that curve, it looks like it's accelerating. So do you guys have, notwithstanding some type of reclassification of Verizon and Comcast as not being cable companies, obviously that creates a cliff because everything dries up. But, do you have a forecast as to what your viable run rate is at the current erosion of subscribers?
So it's an exercise of mapping out a future decline. And to be really direct with you, Rob, we haven't done that. We do have, quote unquote, some rainy day funding that would allow us to sustain some viability for the short term, and that's literally a 3 or 4 month process if all of a sudden all of the revenue dried up. So we do have some money for relocation to move the studio from a capital perspective, but it's a great exercise that we'll tackle. We've looked at the current numbers and how it's mapping, not a consistent linear decline.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I just look at what I see in terms of the service you provide, and 3 or 4 months to find a solution could be particularly challenging, right?
Yep.
Especially if it happens in the middle of a budget year and things like that. So the more that you can keep us apprised of how things are evolving, I think the better.
Absolutely. I just put this to, kind of highlight a couple of the, possible engagement opportunities with the community. Right now, we've got a phenomenal relationship with the schools. We do feel a central location would really open us up to some really compelling opportunities. Things like developing programs, curriculum for the students that are interested in broadcasting and journalism. I know that we've had some one-off courses, and Patrick has been involved in some of his engagement with the schools. But we'd love to continue to develop this, and being closer to the school would make a big difference. And then one other one that I noted here is, I know that there's demand for increased coverage for some of the town meetings, and even some of the community events. Being closer and centrally located, and with the partnership of the town, we would certainly look to add this to the agreement that we're working on for January.
Michael, thank you very much, and that was a great presentation. You guys provide an outstanding service that I'm very, very appreciative, as Rob's already said, that you're putting this on the radar now and not surprising us at the last minute, which is a huge help, so we can put our heads together. I have a few questions, but before I do, Mary Ann, you haven't had a chance to speak. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you, Melinda, Michael, and Patrick for being here and for that presentation. I thought it was very educational for me, and I'm sure for all residents, in terms of what you do and how you do it. You talked about engagement, Melinda, and how you've used SEO to get better engagement, and that directly, just to state the obvious, directly translates into engagement with our residents in what we do in town government. So it is critically important to what we do that people are able to participate because of what you do. So it is, for me anyway, a tremendously valuable service that you provide, a tremendously valuable partnership, and one that I look forward to continuing. And just want to thank you and everybody who works with and for WMC for what you do.
Thanks, Marianne. Mike, let me come back to a couple of my questions. I agree with what Marianne and Robert said. You guys provide an outstanding service, but what you don't know is at least once a week we get an email from a resident that states that Westwood doesn't have a newspaper, but thank God we've got Westwood Media so that people can see what's going on. You guys do an outstanding job, so thank you so much for that. And I'm not exaggerating. Every week I hear from somebody, well, we don't have a newspaper, so you guys provide an invaluable service. Mike, let me just fire off these two quick questions. One is, what are other towns doing? Have you looked at, I know in the hospital community, you always look to see what the other guy is doing. What are other towns doing to address this? And two, could you expand upon the partnership with the schools? Because I know surrounding school systems actually have this in their school, and it's part of their curriculum of strengthening that. Melinda or Mike or Patrick, can you guys help me out with that?
Yeah, I'll let Melinda answer this one. She is definitely the right person.
Okay, thanks.
So there are 5 towns actually in Massachusetts that are municipally run. And I have a full spreadsheet of how they do that. Chelmsford being a really great model. In terms of sustainability, there have been some contracts or agreements that PEG has with their particular municipality that have, a stopgap. So if their money should fall below X amount, the town is willing to come to, keep them whole until a certain amount of number and then renegotiate those services. So that I think we're seeing is a new trend. And then in terms of just alternative revenue, everybody's, selling their services. So, it's not going to make up our budget per se, but, we are doing production services and facility rental and fundraising. And that's about, all we can. That's kind of what's going on around the country even.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to follow up, Joe, on the question around the schools, we've had a good partnership in the schools, more so, less from a curriculum perspective, more so from, students that have been freelancers. A number of, our children have stepped up and various middle school, high school, and even after high school into college, served as interns at Westwood Media Center. So we've got a good partnership in that sense, and we've had a very, very strong working relationship with the schools in general, not only covering school committee meetings, but graduation and other important events at the school. We would love to expand it, and so again, while I'm not necessarily asking for that, I think that becomes a byproduct of that closer proximity.
Hey, Mike, can I just ask another question? I'm sorry, Joe, to jump in on that one. One of the things that I think about when I think about the funding and the service that you provide to the entire community is, yes, I think we have a pretty high penetration of cable homes in Westwood, but for every person that cuts the cord, they're still able to consume Westwood Media content through things like YouTube, essentially without paying for it. They're being subsidized by those folks who are still paying the PEG access fees as part of their monthly cable bill. Is that right?
That's accurate.
Okay.
I want to say, Rob, to follow up on that, that comment and that question, the thought of a paywall and putting up putting our content behind a paywall where people would subscribe, while in theory it sounds like an interesting option, the revenue doesn't necessarily offset. And so, I'm very familiar with really there's one other town in Massachusetts that has not the government content. The government content is available for everybody, but some of the community events, sporting events, and things like that are behind a paywall, and the revenue, simply doesn't really add up. So we've looked at every different possibility. I think the big one is, again, the fairness of the Cable Act of 1984, where if they were to change in all these streaming services not paying and it's not, by the way, that you have to pay more for that service. It's just that they would be cutting a little bit into their profit to fund, the very delivery mechanism of that streaming service. So, I think it's really important that, when there's bills before, our state senators and Congress, that we make it clear that this is really important to us.
Thank you, Mike. Boy, I'm just so appreciative you guys have come before us tonight to give us the heads up on that. That speaks volumes, and I know you guys have worked hard on putting this presentation together. Rob, Marion, any last minute thoughts or comments?
No, thank you again.
Yeah, you guys do outstandanding work.
Thanks, Joe. And I'll just again pass on our extreme gratitude for the partnership that we have. We've come a long way in the last 8 years.
You guys have done outstanding work, Mike. Outstanding. Tish, is there anything in the comments I'm sorry, the Q&A part?
There are no comments right now.
Mr.
Pat.
Chairman, may I be allowed to speak for a moment?
Please, I was about to call on you, Pat. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I don't think has been addressed here tonight, but I think it's important to state, is as I travel around town, Westwood Media Center connects people who might otherwise not be connected to town government and stuff in town. Senior citizens rely on this service to know what's happening in town, and you can't understate the importance of it. And when COVID hit, Westwood Media Center was a lifeline for us. So I just want to say that, and I want to speak for a moment about the Second Amendment. It is one of the simplest legal documents you're ever going to see. It extends it to February 1st. And as you can see from their presentation, there are many issues there at a crossroads, and we need time to hammer out a new service agreement that's good for Westwood Media Center and good for the town of Westwood, but most importantly, good for the citizens of Westwood.
And just to clarify, you were talking about the Second Amendment to this contract and not
Yes.
the Second Amendment.
Not the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. That's correct. I thought I was clear, but perhaps not.
Well, Rob, I was thinking the same thing there for a moment, so thanks for clarifying. Thank you all very much. Excellent presentation. You guys provide a great service. Melinda, Mike, Patrick, strong work on a job well done. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll do whatever we can. Thank you.
So when you make the motion, I would advise you to also authorize electronic signatures of the three of you.
Okay, let me get to that part. So we need to vote to extend the current Westwood Media Center PEG agreement until February 1, 2025 with other conditions. Would anyone like to make a motion, Rob?
I'd be happy to make that motion.
Thanks, Marion.
I move that we extend the current Westwood Media Center PEG agreement until February 1, 2025, with all other conditions to remain in place as is, and authorizing electronic signatures of the board thereto.
I would second that motion.
Roll call. Marianne?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you, folks.
Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
This brings us up to appointments and reappointments of boards, if I have this correct. I think we're good. Yeah. So we have vacancies, so the public knows we have vacancies on the Cemetery Commission, Commission on Disability, Council on Aging, Historical Commission, Housing Partnership and Fair Housing Committee, Pedestrian Bike Advisory Committee, Recreation Commission, Westwood Cultural, and I believe we heard tonight we also have the WMC. There's an opening on that. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, I believe that is accurate, Mr. Chair. And before the board, we do have some recommendations for reappointments and some and one new appointment to Ped Bike Advisory, Westwood Cultural Council, Canton Street Project Working Group, and a Long Range Financial Planning Committee.
I would like to, Pat, as I understand the instructions here, I would like someone to make a motion to appoint Tom McShane. I'm heartbroken over the fact that Tom is stepping off the Ped Bike Committee, and Dave Atkins. Those guys brought a lot to the table. But for tonight, can someone make a motion to appoint Tom McShane to the Ped Bike Committee as an ex officio member? I think that will help us as we go down.
That should satisfy the liaison situation with that group.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call. Mary Ann,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That brings us up to Phil and Paul. Pat, I think we can handle them just with the reappointments below, correct?
I believe you can, yeah.
Great, okay. So, Rob, do you want to take this since you're the rock star on
Well,
reappointment?
I can just give a quick update as it relates to Phil and Paul as well. As you recall, they were both serving as appointed members, voting members, as the elected treasurer and the elected tax collector up until the recent expiration. And you know, they both provide tremendous input and thought to the board or to the committee. And so I asked if they would want to continue, and we would just make them at-large members, and both said they are interested in doing that. So with that, I would make the motion to reappoint the following individuals to various committees. Starting with Ped Bike, Chris Coleman, Todd Corchin, Francis Baker, and Steve Conley as ex officio members with the expiration of this appointment as a one-year term of June 30th, 2025. And then, as you noted earlier, Mr. Chair, Tom McShane would continue on in his ex officio status for Ped Bike Safety, also expiring on June 30th of 2025. The Westwood Cultural Council, we want to reappoint Ann Foss Innes, and that is a 3-year appointment to expire on June 30th, 2027. Reappointing Tom McShane to the Canton Street Working Group as the Ped Bike representative for the next year to expire on June 30th of 25. And finally, to reappoint the following at-large residential members to the Long Range Financial Planning Committee: Phil Shapiro, Paul Tesseri, Skip Wells, each with a term to end on June 30th, 2025.
I second that motion.
Well done, Rob.
Thank you.
Roll call. Mary Ann,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thanks, Rob, for a job well done.
Thank you.
That moves us up to liaison reports. I'll start with the off-leash dog park working group. We'll be holding our first meeting on July 25th at the main library on High Street, starting at 6 p.m., ending at 7 p.m. It's not officially on here, but Rob, you always ask me about how the fire station working group's going. I'm really happy how they're going. We're meeting again tomorrow. We haven't met for a while. We're making some terrific headway on that. Molly, I'm sure, can tell you more if you need more particulars, but that working group's going well.
Good to hear.
Yeah. Mary Ann, do you have anything to report?
There was a recent meeting of the Commission on Disability, which I attended. We mainly discussed our update relative to the comprehensive plan and succession planning within the commission, which is going well.
Excellent, thank you. And Rob, anything on your end?
We will be scheduling the Long Range Financial Planning Committee to get together to begin our work that this board has asked us to do with respect to the transfer fee recommendations. The school building committee meets on Monday. I may or may not be able to be there based on a prior work commitment. And so that's about what I've got there. I know WEAC has some things that they are planning for Westwood Day in September. And I think the only other thing that, I don't know that it falls under the Norfolk County Advisory Board, but, you know, since it is July, have we reached back out to Norfolk County to find out if there's anybody who has unused ARPA monies?
I have sent an email.
Excellent.
Good question, Rob. I like that. Keep the pressure on.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Marianne and Rob. And that brings us down to, the last thing I have is select board meeting dates. Are there any issues or conflicts that you folks have with what Tish put together?
No,
Pat, have we missed anything?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Praise the Lord. And Tish, it looks like there's one question in the queue. If you could help me out with that.
I can. Kathy Wallace, 283 Farm Lane. At the June 10th Select Board meeting, it was stated that research about a Fire Station 1 PR campaign would occur in the month of July. Can you update us on that research, and will the revamped webpage be live in early September? Would it be possible to have another update at the next Select Board meeting on August 19th?
All right, I think we can certainly do an update. Molly, would you like to, I know we've discussed this. I'm not sure how far we've gone down the road on the PR end of things.
Sure. I'd be happy to. So we've just begun the research this week. I can absolutely commit to having an update at your meeting in August, and the goal is to have the website live in September.
Excellent. Thanks, Molly. Anyone else want to make a motion?
if you're asking for a motion to adjourn, I'm happy to make that motion.
Yes, thank you. Is there a second?
There is.
Don't tease me. Don't tease me, Rob. Don't. All right, roll call. Marianne.
Aye.
Rob.
Aye.
Thank you all. And I vote aye as well. Motion to adjourn. Thank you all, and have a great week.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Enjoy your summer.
You too.